All right, pressing the button. Hey folks, this is James O'Keefe, chair of the Massachusetts Pirate Party, and I want to welcome you to another Pirate News. I'm joined by Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Pretty good. I'm Steve. I'm the vice chair of the Massachusetts Pirate Party.
Excellent. So two events that are two things we want you to know of that are coming up. One, this Saturday at 10 a.m. In front of the Moakley Federal Courthouse in the Seaport District of Boston, we're going to go and map all of the surveillance cameras in the Seaport District. We'd like your help. So come on out. We will put a link in the chat and in the description that will show you how you can sign up, where you can go and download our instructions for using various apps on iPhone or Android to be able to go and easily map surveillance cameras. And, you know, if you want, you can just do it on paper too, and then, you know, enter that stuff in, because we use OpenStreetMap as the repository for all this information, because why shouldn't it be shared? So that's going to be from 10 to noon, and then after on this Saturday. And then after that, we're going to go and just grab something to eat, find a nice park area somewhere, and just go and talk about what worked, what didn't, what we can improve on. And then in addition to that, would you like to plumb the depths of the Massachusetts campaign finance database? Well, you're in luck. Nick in the democracy, in our democracy committee, is working on pulling in all of the OCPF, or Office of Campaign and Political Finance data, and seeing what information he can tease out of that, looking at who gives, who they give to, when they give, and all that stuff. It's public record, so why shouldn't we be able to look at it and figure out what connections we can make? Because obviously the people giving money know the connections they're making. So we'll put a link in the description for that, for how you can find out more about that, how you can contact Nick. And if you want to help out with that, we've got other data sources that are out there. So if you've got machine learning experience, if you've got data analysis experience, if you're just curious, contact us, and we'd love to have you help out.
Yep, help us follow the money.
Absolutely, excellent. So Steve, I guess there was a couple and they got eBayed. What's up with that?
So, you know, it'll be interesting to see if the term like Google has become synonymous with, you know, doing online searches. Hopefully eBay doesn't. Well, we'll see if eBay, the word eBay becomes synonymous with online, or basically stalking and harassment. So this story comes by way of the Boston Globe. It involves a couple in Natick, Massachusetts, that, you know, back in the day, they were, you know, they like to, you know, go to auctions or garage sales, pick up antiques and then sell them, you know, that sort of thing. And when the internet started, they, you know, put together, they would collaborate with their friends who were into antiques and that sort of thing. And they eventually started a newsletter and a website, basically, you know, how to, best ways to sell antiques online. And, you know, eBay being, you know, a big commercial player in this space, a fair number of articles were written about them. And apparently this rubbed some of the, and I should say some of the articles were, you know, a little bit, you know, unfavorable, like noting that their CEO receive, you know, the ratio of the CEO's pay to the worker pay. And some of them were just like, you know, here's some tips for reducing your shipping cost, that sort of stuff. Apparently someone at eBay, it caught their ire. They were really unhappy with this couple running this blog, and basically had several eBay employees and one contractor harass them. And this started off as, you know, with This started off with somebody tagging their fence. It progressed into things like, the order have a pile of pizzas delivered to them, or I think in one case someone had ordered a pig fetus from a taxidermist and it was about to be delivered, but the taxidermist called them to say, did you really order this? And no, we didn't.
Hopefully they weren't swatted.
Thankfully, the article does not mention this, and hopefully they were not. That is a very dangerous situation. But at one point it escalated to basically a contractor following them around and driving by their home frequently in a basically a black van. Eventually, this would kind of stress them out because, like, why is this van keep following me? But they eventually got pictures of the plate, which identified the contractor, and things kind of came together afterwards. One of the people involved, I think it was kind of like one of their heads of security. But anyway, he was just sentenced on June 28th to, I believe, 18 months. Yeah, the manager of security operations for eBay's global security team. So it's fortunately, not all of these folks have gone to trial. All of them have been fired. eBay has issued a public statement condemning them, but I mean, it's really weird to see what's basically a very large company go after, this couple for basically writing a newsletter, sometimes being critical of eBay, and basically, sharing tips on how to, sell antiques online. It's just nuts. At any rate.
Yeah, I'm absolutely amazed. I'm kind of surprised the contractor, like, is the contractor really, I mean, they must have been ordered to do it, right? I can't see anyone contracting for you, but yet I shall have such animus against these people that I will go and torment them.
It's, I guess, I always thought that this sort of thing happened, more often in, in older days of yore. It's kind of like the strong arm tactics, but that's. I'm
gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
And if you refuse it, it's gonna be nasty.
With the fishes.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of expect that from organized crime syndicates, but again, this is supposed to be. I believe eBay's publicly traded. They're on NASDAQ, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, not from a publicly traded company. Yeah. Well, anyway, that's your weekly WTF from the bucolic, Massachusetts, bucolic town of Natick, Massachusetts.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, it feels like, it's some 17-year-old somewhere in another country deciding to, like, I mean, wasn't that the whole thing? Isn't that the MO of 17-year-olds who want to tease someone, is to, like, send them a whole bunch of pizzas?
Yeah, and having a juvenile from another country do it is kind of a thing too, or at least that storyline sounds really familiar.
Yes.
Get someone beyond the reach of the FBI, and at least it it puts the step of extradition in the way of kind of straightening things out.
Right. So in other news, the bipartisan infrastructure compromise is progressing, and in the Senate at least. And supposedly, according to Carl Bode, he points out that the $65 billion investment, this is from the text, and the White House, ensure that there's going to be $65 billion of new money that will go towards building out broadband by the Comcast and Verizon's and other internet service providers. So do you happen to remember how much we've already given them to build out broadband universally?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, but I'm drawing a blank. How much was it, Jamie?
I think it's something like $300 billion so far. And I bet you if we looked at how much of their profits they've been using to buy their stock, I'm not sure they pay dividends, but to, in essence, give back to their shareholders, I bet you it's more than that.
I think granted there's a whole pile of things wrong with this. So one of the things that, all right, I could understand, yes, broadband is something that, it's now as critical to a lot of people, at least to me. All right, it's as critical to me as electricity, for all practical purposes. For the last year and a half, I have been working remotely, and broadband has been indispensable for that. Broadband is what allows us to do these podcasts. But I can from the company's perspective, I could understand them saying, it's, they need help in rural areas or whatnot, where you'll just never get the investment back. But at the same time, these are also the companies that have lobbied very hard to enact state level prohibitions on municipal broadband. Thank you, Marshall Blackburn, who was just one member of a cast of characters. The other thing, you have to realize is that sometimes when our telcos promise to deliver, they have the habit of not doing so. I just dug it up before this, before we went on the air, but back in, I think, 2008, this is from the New York Times. Verizon and the city of New York reached some sort of franchise agreement where Verizon was supposed to provide FiOS to a large portion of the citizens or the residents of New York. And, years on, they didn't exactly do it. And, at the time this article was written, the city was contemplating a lawsuit for basically breaching that agreement. But, even if our telcos are, I think, technically there are a few main ones. You have your Comcast, you have your Verizon, you have your Charter, but, in a lot of markets, they're just, they are in a monopoly. It's rare to live in, or it's uncommon to live in an area where you have the choice of Verizon or choice of broadband providers. And yeah, I would rather see the money going into municipal broadband or smaller regional carriers than for the kind of like the big 3 or 4 we have.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, we've basically thrown good money after bad money, subsidizing these companies to build out infrastructure they either were already going to build out, or they just never built out. And you'd think we'd finally stop that and start providing it to municipalities so they can build their own internet and their own ISP. It's not that hard.
So one of the things that I'm kind of curious if you know of a study or of any articles written about this, is there been any research into the amount of quote unquote opportunity, job earnings, education, etc., differences between areas that have decent broadband and areas that don't?
No doubt. I'm sure there are studies of that. I can't think of one off the top of
Mhm.
my head. I mean, you can compare us to South Korea, where they have very fast and not expensive high speed
Mhm.
internet. Or you could look at, I think it's Estonia, it encourages businesses to provide free Wi-Fi, and that's a large part
Mhm.
of their, what's available there, and people just expect to have free Wi-Fi. I mean, why should you have to, why is it Wi-Fi isn't open for anyone to get on and
Mhm.
use? I mean, what's the problem? It's
What's so
Yeah,
one
go.
of the things I've pre-pandemic I spent a bit of time in Southeast Asia, and mobile phones are, there's a lot of stuff that happens on mobile phones in Southeast Asia. And one of the things that, it kind of in retrospect really struck me is, if you're in America, you typically have plans that are monthly. It's just, there's a cap and you pay so much a month, and the carriers, they kind of try to discourage you from using lots of data. Whereas in Southeast Asia, it is all pay as you go. They have really good networks, and the emphasis is on getting people to use as much data as possible. It's regulatory, the yeah, it's just I think the regulatory capture is not done, has not done us as much in the line of favors, but that's just me.
Yeah, and they say the U.S. government isn't corrupt. So another thing that came out was apparently there's now DRM on cups.
I could not freaking believe this. What
Uh,
chain was it did this?
I didn't. Oh, this looks like McDonald's.
Oh,
Like I can see like part of the golden arch. Let me look at this. Yeah, so someone tweeted out a picture. Yeah, it looks like McDonald's. That there's a, when they went to, take the cup that they purchased, and that they are then going to use their own labor to fill. It limits them. You can't just take the cup and bring it to the machine if you haven't paid for it. It will go and notice that the cup, because it has like RFID or something in the bottom of it, that the cup has not yet been approved. And since it hasn't been approved, you can't go and fill it. Nor, interestingly enough, they also say you have 2 refills to enjoy in 58 minutes. Like,
yeah. So
great.
I mean, yeah. So let's just break this down. So you go to McDonald's, you order a drink, they give you a cup. On the bottom of the cup is an RFID chip. On the soda dispenser, where you place a cup, there is an RFID reader. So you put the cup down, and before the thing will dispense your soda, it'll check, has this cup been purchased? Has this cup, been purchased more than 58 minutes ago? How many refills has this cup had? Yeah, I one of the things that just, kind of strikes me about this is, McDonald's is not a high-end restaurant. So, it's where for when I was growing up, my family was kind of broke, and this is McDonald's is where we went out for dinner, right? So what this is, kind of another example of, um, a wealthy corporation basically saying, "Watch out, you poor customers! They're going to steal from us. They're going to steal our soda."
Our precious bodily fluids.
I mean, it's just like DRM has always been about how, vendors do not trust their customers, whether it's applied to movies, whether it's applied to software, and whether it's applied to applied
Folks.
to soda, or it's been vendors doing lock-in. You're not going to fill up a little water bottle from the soda fountain. You will have to fill the cup and then use a cup to fill the water bottle. But yeah, it's damn McDonald's. Like, what the? Anyway,
I mean, I think it would be interesting if someone tried to hack it and like went and looked at see if you could get any information about the RFID chip. I bet you there's a setting that is just dispense unlimited soda, and or if you have it, I bet you there's like a universal RFID thing, and if you could tease that out, that would be really interesting, because then you just have like an RFID tag that has that in, and you can get unlimited drinks. But it really is ludicrous that they're going to do it. Plus, I'm thinking to myself, that's yet more waste that goes into our garbage stream, right? I mean, now you've got various metals and stuff that in the RFID tag that's there. So what? Now we have even more metals that go in.
Well, there's, this is what I'm sort of waiting for is, gosh, the network went down. We can't dispense soda today. And neither we're also not, you're also going to have to pay cash only. And
bottled water for you.
Bottled water for you.
Yeah, I know. The one time my wife and I went out to eat, I haven't eaten out throughout the entire pandemic. The one time things were looking up. We're all vaccinated, so we went, and they're okay about it, and they're really nice, but they're like, yeah, sorry, we can't take your credit card. Our system is down. And it was just kind of like, yeah, I could imagine it would be like, yeah, no, we can't dispense soda. Sorry. Well, the one other thing that we wanted to talk about is Daniel Hale, who was a drone program whistleblower. His trial came to completion and he was convicted. He has a statement that he issued on July 27th, which is, I am here because I stole something that was never mine to take, precious human life. For that, I was compensated and given a medal. I couldn't keep living in a world in which people pretended that things weren't happening that were. Please, Your Honor, forgive me for taking papers instead of human lives.
Yeah. I thought the whole point with whistleblowers is, this is something I think is a little backward in our federal judicial system, federal law system, federal system, whatever. You report, you tell something, you say something, you blow the whistle, you describe conduct that's illegal, or at the very least, just a really, really bad thing to be doing. And the people doing it, they're not going to get in trouble. This is kind of just, it reminds me of Reality Winner, who was another whistleblower who served time for disclosing quote unquote secrets, also known as letting people know what some division in the federal government is actually up to.
And what they thought about, Russia's attempts to affect our election.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it does seem like the whistleblowers are the ones that go to jail, and the people who actually committed the crimes don't, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, on that note, folks, we just want to remind.
I was going to say, do we have something light to end with?
No. unless you can think of something.
Oh, I have something. So 2 weeks ago, I started working back in the office.
Yeah.
So this is just, this is one of these things where we're reopening slowly. I put my hand up first to come back, which means that I now have, I get my, 9 mile each way bike commute back, and I have a little bit better work-life separation, which is kind of making me happy. So that's my happy story of the week.
Are they requiring people to wear masks?
No, but you have to provide proof of vaccination. So no vaccination, no, you're not returning to work in the office.
Interesting.
So, people are free to wear masks or not.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention was Friday was the hearing of the Facial Recognition Commission. The comments were overwhelmingly against it, either that there should be greater safeguards put on it and limited use, or like our position, which is it should just be completely banned. And there were a wide variety of folks. There were also at least several people who were directly or indirectly tied to the facial recognition corporations, one of which was, I believe, the CEO of Clearview AI. And it was an interesting commission hearing, and it was good to attend it. I hope they did live stream it, but I hope the recordings, I haven't seen them made available, but hopefully they will be. But one of the things that I noticed is that when you go to a hearing, it is clear who are the commissioners or who are your state representatives or state senators, and who are on the committee, and then who are the people who are speaking. It's a very clear demarcation between those. But this was over, I believe, Microsoft Teams. And it was peculiar because there really wasn't a separation, because people, whomever had last spoken or was speaking or spoken most often seemed to be the folks who were shown on the screen. And normally at these hearings, it isn't you have one position, you state it, and then you have another position, you get to question them about that. But that kind of happened a few times, which was just peculiar, I must say. So I'm sure it's probably a rare occurrence, and I see no ill will in why that happened. But it was interesting, and about how the technology changes the way we operate.
Well, I have been to approximately 50 public meetings this year, all virtual. And I hear what you're saying. It totally kind of blurs the line between, who's running it and who's participating. And sometimes it does when you are, in a public setting, it can be a little more formal with, it seems to be I've noticed that things are a little more formal where, generally someone is facilitating or moderating or chairing the meeting, and you basically have to direct your comments to that person. And, the person doing the moderating will call on people to answer questions if appropriate. But yeah, they get a little more freeform. It's, it's a thing.
Yeah, so as far as I know, it's not too late if folks want to submit written testimony. You can send it by email to, I put a link in the chat. I'll put a link in the description that has all the information rather than read it off. And you can email it or mail it, and give them your testimony. I don't believe there's a limit on that, but something to think about. And we encourage you to do that. So on that note, we've been up half an hour. Shall we take off?
I think we can take off.
Excellent. So thank you very much for watching this. Please, as always, check us out at masspirates.org. We're always looking for folks to help out. Again, we have the Seaport camera mapping outing on the 7th at 10 a.m. meeting in front of the Moakley Federal Courthouse. And if you want to help out, help Nick out with doing some fun data analysis with OCPF or campaign finance data, check the link there and send him an email. And as always, please like, subscribe, click that bell, and share with your friends if you like these or our other live streams. So again, thank you all. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Jamie, and have a good night.
You too. Bye, folks. All right, we're done.